A lot of venison there.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, one and all. How do you do? Welcome to the Irish Show on WHK AM 1420. My name is Gerry Quinn. Delighted to be with you this morning. Our program is brought to you by the Clad Irish Pub and Restaurant, Legacy Village. Chambers Funeral Homes, 3 locations to serve you in the Cleveland area. PJ McIntyre's Pub and Restaurant at Cam's Corner. Joyce Buick GMC, Cleveland's #1 Buick dealer. Kylie Roofing, 20 years in the roofing business. Flanagan's Wake in Playhouse Square. The Ohio Rose of Tralee. And Weedman Lawn Service. All of these good folks bringing you the Irish Show this morning on WHK AM 1420. Stay with us now. We got a special guest in the studio this morning, Bill Garvey from the Marvel Company. He's going to be talking about the movie industry, so make sure you stay with us. Don't go away. It's 15 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. You can call Colleen at 216-901-0945. I mean Eddie Fitzpatrick. And you can email Colleen at QuinnIrishRadio@yahoo.com. Now, if you would like to log on to the internet and hear the program live on the internet, you can do so by either going to WHKRadio.com or you can go to our website, which is QuinnIrishRadio.com, and you will see an icon that says Listen Live. And there we are, no matter where you are throughout the world. In the studio this morning, I have Bill Garvey. He is the location manager, or he was for the movie that just completed, Captain America, for Marvel Studios. It's great to have him back in the studio. Welcome back, Bill. It's been, about a year and a half, 2 years?
Hi, Jerry. How's it going?
Great to have you back with us. I think the last time we were finishing up on the Avengers, if I rightly remember.
Correct, yeah.
But you are the location manager. What does a movie location manager do?
Sure. Well, there's 2 parts. So there's the creative part and there's the managerial business part. So the first part of the job is I break down the script and I find all the locations that you see on the screen for the movie. And that's probably the longest part of my job. And then once the movie starts filming, then I manage all the logistics of getting the company of 200 crew members and all our trucks and equipment in and out of each location, and all the catering area for our crew to eat lunch in, and where are we going to go to the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. So all
Now,
the
reading of the script, how long does that usually take? Most movies are
Well,
about
that's
an
the
hour
first
and a
thing.
half.
Yeah, that's the first thing I do. So I read the script, I break it down. So I find out what is the most important part of the locations of the script. So I find my hubs, the locations that we're going to spend the most time filming in, and then I sit down with the directors and the production designer, and we discuss what the look of the movie is going to be, what their concept for each scene is going to be, and then I use that vision to go out and find them options for each scene.
Now, you don't know who's going to be in the movie at this stage, or do you?
Most of the time, yeah. At that point, before I'm even hired, they attach a director, a production designer, and actors to the movie usually.
Okay.
And that's the stars. Obviously, they cast smaller parts, as pre-production goes on. So you usually know who the main stars are going to be, though.
Now, how long have you been location manager?
20 years. Actually, 20 years as of this year.
I remember when you started.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that long. Now, a little background. You graduated from Notre Dame,
I did.
Notre Dame College.
I did. Yes.
Did you always think of going into the movies, or did it just happen?
No, I kind of bounced out of the engineering program. I wasn't much for the science and math, even though I intended to. After my first semester in engineering, I figured, well, I've always loved film, and so I kind of did have a sense of going into that even then. But we were kind of an afterthought at Notre Dame. We were stuck in the attic of the science building, so we had very little equipment and resources. So I figured I'd get a major I could fall back on if everything didn't work out. So I was a business major.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, how big is the crew that you work with? Now, you're the manager, so you have a crew with you. How many people would you have in that crew?
In the locations department, it varies from job to job. On a bigger job like Avengers or Captain America, we have a lot more people. On this one, there was 16 of us.
Just in the location?
Just in the locations department. There was about 200 crew in Ohio, and then another, maybe 100 in LA and elsewhere, building sets and props and art department and all sorts of other departments.
And that's a huge part of the movie also, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Building those
So
sets.
the main two parts of the movie, the biggest expenditures on a movie are locations and art department. Building the sets, all the stuff from painting to prop making to all that stuff. That's a huge part of the movie. And then locations, all the locations fees. We pay each location that we film at. We pay surrounding businesses. We pay for police and fire department, security, all sorts of things. So yeah, it's millions of dollars.
Did you hear what Eddie said to you when you came in? Are you the guy that shut the shoreway down?
Yeah, we shut the
Do you want to touch
down.
on that for a minute? I wasn't going to ask you till later on, but it seems to fit in right here.
Yeah,
No,
sure. Well, I mean, again, it's nice, all right, Cleveland has this great movie to showcase how great Cleveland is, and it does. But it wouldn't be worth it if there wasn't a great economic impact.
Mhm.
And what we bring, we spent, we spent in the tens of millions of dollars here during the production of Captain America. From businesses, restaurants, and hotels, and taxi rides, parking lots, and it goes on, buying our lumber, buying sign companies,
Hiring
copies,
people,
everything.
Everything.
And
you do.
then the local crew, of course. So millions and millions and millions of dollars has been spent, and that's the reason that this is good for
So
us.
there's a little pain that has to go with for us to acquire those millions of dollars. It's like people fixing potholes now. they got to shut the street down so that they can mend the potholes. Well, yes, Connie.
I wanted to say it's not just Cleveland. Out in Parma, Bill was out in
Right,
Parma.
sure.
So the city of Parma and Parma residents, we benefited from
And
the
I
film.
want to spend a lot
Yes.
more
Mhm.
time talking about the economic impact, but right now I have to go to a commercial, and
Sure.
you understand that, don't you?
Absolutely.
We have to pay the bills. All right. Last night we had about 3-4 inches last night, and we hope that this is the end of the snow. We're supposed to be getting up into the 50s, I think, tomorrow or the next day. Bill Garvey is with us this morning. Bill is the location manager for Marvel Studios, or was until he's an independent contractor, but he was working for Marvel on Captain America here in Cleveland. Huge movie, and he has also worked on the Avengers, the Sopranos. We're going to talk about all of this stuff in throughout the program. But also want to remind you that Jack Kilroy and Noel Lennon is going to come in the second half of the program. We're going to talk about them about Noel playing at PJ McIntyre's tonight. But Bill, when I left off a few minutes ago, we were talking about the economic impact on Cleveland, and I think it's a huge thing.
Right.
Impact. Would you like to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk
I mean,
more about it.
in a very short period of time, we infuse dollars from out of state, and that's what this is really about. The attraction of business from out of state into Ohio. I mean, up until 2012, the Avengers and other projects that came in attracted $113 million in investment that wouldn't be here except for the tax incentive. And again, I have a feeling that they're doing another study from Cleveland State about the most recent economic impact. We spent more days filming here, so I have a feeling it's probably going to be a higher number than that now. And that's, based on a $1.20 return on all the tax dollars spent on this incentive. So it's infused money. It's a good thing for Ohio, and I feel and responsibility to protect the interests of the state that I now live in. So I want this because it's a good thing, because I see the numbers. I'm the one paying the bills out,
Yeah.
paying the checks. I do all the contracts. So I see how this affects the local economy.
And Bill, you spent a good many years working in New York, and you see
I
the
did.
impact in New York.
Yeah,
was
New
huge,
York has a
wasn't it?
tax incentive too. Our cap here is in Ohio is $20 million a year. In New York, it's $420 million a year, and it's attracted over $2 billion in investment. Probably one of our biggest competitors statewide is Louisiana, and they don't even have a cap, and they've had
No cap at all.
No cap, and they've had $1.3 billion over the last few years from film dollars. So it can attract a lot of outside of the state dollars, and it's been a boon for Ohio.
What would you say Cleveland needs to attract more of the movies? Let's say the tax incentives. We can talk about that later. whether they'll increase or not, but what do we need here in the city to
Well,
attract more?
I think the most important thing right now is we need a stage. Any movie that films always has stage work, so that they build a set of some sort. It could be
A permanent
apartment.
stage?
Well, no,
Permanent-
for each movie they build a set. So whatever movie it is, it could be a set of a house. It could be something else. Like on Captain America, it was a tremendously big set. We didn't get that work, all those days of filming and all those many months of pre-production, because we don't have a stage here. For instance, in New York, for years, the biggest stage was an old bread factory, Silver Cup Studios, and they just took this old warehouse and soundproofed it and converted it into a stage, and that's where all movies shot in New York. So we're losing anywhere between 25% and 50% of a movie because we don't have a stage.
So if somebody listening to us now had a couple 100,000 square foot building and they haven't leased it, or they're sitting there not being used,
Right.
would that something like that be
Absolutely,
suitable?
and that's what we do in most cities that I go to, and I've filmed all over the country. You take an unused warehouse and you build your set there, and that suffices most of the time. There's certain things that we look for. We look for high ceilings to accommodate a lighting grid. We look for wide column spacing so that we have enough space to build our set.
Well, do you buy it or do you lease it?
We lease it.
You lease it, probably long-term lease, but that ensures you coming back. Once you've signed that
Absolutely.
lease for 5-10 years,
Sure.
that means that company is going to come back
Yeah,
to Cleveland.
and in cities, our closest competing cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh, they have permanent stages that movies go to, and they do have a bigger film business because of that.
And bigger tax incentives too.
They have Pennsylvania has an $85 million cap, so yes, they have more of an incentive to attract movies.
A couple of guys that have really helped Cleveland in the movie business are the Russo brothers.
Yes.
Did you ever meet them?
I did. Yeah, we worked pretty closely together. They were, they're from Cleveland. They really love their hometown, and they've been a large part of why Captain America came here, and a large part of why the premiere is happening here on Tuesday, because they want to celebrate their city, and they realize what we have here, and they were.
Now, are they the producers of the movie?
They are the directors.
The
not
directors.
Yes.
And they have a lot to say about where a movie goes, do they?
Absolutely. Yeah. At the very beginning of the movie, all these movies they shop around. They go to different cities to check out the locations to see if there's enough there to warrant filming the movie there. So before Captain America filmed here, they checked out a bunch of different cities.
Now, one thing you mentioned to me when we were talking before was that you said Cleveland is handy because you don't have to drive very far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To move trucks, to
Yeah.
move equipment.
There's
Address
not only is the architecture great here, it can pass for Washington D.C., it can pass for Germany, it can pass for New York. So that there's a wide range of architectural looks here, but also it's easier to get around. In New York, if you wanted to get out to farm country, you'd be driving for 2 hours. Here, you can get there in a half hour. That's a lot of savings for a movie, and that's very attractive for a movie because I always liken it to like the circus coming to town. So it's 20 to 30 tractor trailers, 200 people, lots of equipment, and we move that entire company of trucks and equipment and people every day. So we're going to a new spot every day, and to get it there costs money, and the less time you have to spend getting all that stuff, less effort you have to spend getting it there, it's worth it to go to a city like that. So that's one of the many reasons that Cleveland's so great for this kind of business.
Okay. We'll be back talking more with Bill Garvey from Captain America. He's got a lot more to tell us. Really interesting story. Jay, for years, and never thought about what it really takes to make a movie. But you mentioned something, I read somewhere, talk about plate shots.
Sure.
Would you tell our listeners, what are plate shots?
This is my shameless Star Wars story.
Yeah, Spider-Man, was it Spider-Man?
Spider-Man, yeah. So I found basically plate shots are all these superhero movies. They have people flying through the air and all this.
Yeah, I often
special
wondered how
effects.
they do that.
So in order to do that, they obviously don't have the actors flying through the air. They shoot a plate shot of static shot of the skyline of a city, and then they superimpose the actor later on. And so for Spider-Man 2, I found all the skyscraper rooftops for the plate shots. And it's a small unit, about 10 people, and we just go up there and we have to take various shots of the skyline in the morning. And
Still pictures.
Still, yeah. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, all different light qualities in the skyline, so that they have a lot of options when they get back to the editing of the movie, and they can plug in whatever lighting effects they want. So we had a lot of free time on our hands, just sitting around doing nothing, just waiting for the sun to come up and the sun to go down. And John Dykstra, who was the visual effects coordinator of that movie, is a very famous guy. He's a legend in the film business. He's worked on movies for 50 years, just designing all these special effects for all the major movies that you've seen. So he would just sit around telling us stories, and they'd start out with like when I was building the Millennium Falcon for Star Wars, and when I was on Battlestar Galactica, I did this. So it was very cool because I'm a sci-fi geek, and I just ate it all up. It was great.
Yeah, but again, it's a big cost in the movie, isn't it?
Huge cost, yeah. Huge cost.
Those little things we see on the screen that we don't think much of.
Absolutely.
Those are huge.
And it's changed the movie business in the last 10 years. The technology has completely. That's why we're able to shoot all these superhero movies now, where in the past the technology wasn't there. So yes, it's really enhanced our ability to tell the story.
Well, I hope Sean Lackey is listening to this. There's going to be lots of plate shots in the next Yank in the egg too, right?
The Yank, sure.
All right. All right. What are some peculiar sites that you worked at? For instance, I know you worked on The Sopranos for years, and I know a lot of peculiar things used to go on in the mafia. Talk to me about that. But peculiar sites that you had to find sites for various shots.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, obviously a lot of places to dump a body on The Sopranos.
There's a lot of that.
Trudging around the swamps of the Meadowlands, around Giant Stadium, where just kind of an environment you would never go to otherwise. The Pine Barrens, and I've been all over the Northeast, just looking for. Half the time I try to get lost, because that's when I seem to find most of my the best stuff, the most interesting things. So just go down a street, dead end road.
Now I see that you actually did some research in an insane asylum.
I did, yeah.
What was that
I
about?
worked on a movie called Shutter Island. It's a
Shutter Island?
Shutter Island, Leonardo DiCaprio movie, Martin Scorsese directed. And I spent a few months kind of just traveling through Massachusetts, going to all the insane asylums, and there were a bunch of them back then. I think probably now a lot of them have been torn down, but. These were places that have been sitting derelict for 50 years, and just from that age where everybody was institutionalized. Even if you had epilepsy, even back then, they would institutionalize people for their life.
As you were going through these, would it conjure up images of lobotomies?
Oh yeah, no,
I
I went into a couple of them. I went into the operating room was intact, as if they went home for the night and shut the lights off and left everything there. Straight jackets up against the walls, all draped in cobwebs. And
where was this?
Massachusetts, yeah. Just outside of Boston. I actually, there was a basement. I remember going into this basement behind this old creaky iron door. There was this huge room full of 100-year-old steamer trunks and hat boxes and luggage from all the patients. They check in and never check out, and all their stuff was just left there.
Oh my goodness. When you're a transplanted Cleveland from New York. You grew up in New York City.
Yes.
And of course you met Carol and you moved here. You live in Rocky River now, and you seem to like it here.
Love it here, yeah.
You really enjoy it. But when you moved to Cleveland, you had to learn a lot about the city. What did you find? Did you find out a lot of things? You probably know more about this city than most of us that have lived here all our lives.
That's the great thing about my job. I love history and I love architecture, and that's I'm passionate about my job because of that. And the great thing is that I go into a city I don't really know much about, and I learn a lot about it in a very short period of time. So I traveled a lot
any
around.
interesting discoveries here in Cleveland?
Absolutely, yeah. Just I mean, from the Superior Viaduct, the old trolley station. That there's just so much history there, and I actually just found this out just a few weeks ago that there was actually a sister tunnel that was built connecting the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, where they were going to continue the trolley tracks across that bridge, but they never ended up using it. Just stuff like there's a big, huge steam tunnel that runs underneath downtown Cleveland from the flats all the way to Tower City. Just something you would never know. And it's a nondescript iron door that's right on Canal Road. You never know it existed, except you go into this big cavernous steam tunnel. There's so much history here. There's an old factory, Westinghouse factory, that's still sitting there. It's 40 years removed from ever being used, but just it's some really gorgeous architecture.
I want to come back and talk to you about the Alcazar Hotel, the old Alcazar Hotel. Colleen, what do you got?
It's almost 11 a.m. at the top of the hour, but lots of interesting things.
Where is it? She showed me the ropes, I think it's called, and I'm trying to find it here on my screen right now. I don't know, it just disappeared 0 minutes ago. Oh, there it is. Noel, how are you? I'm going to play this right now, and then we'll talk later.
I did, yeah.
You want to play?
I brought a tin whistle as well and a flute.
Good. We'll do
They
something.
got me babysitting last night. I couldn't come down.
I heard
That
that.
is Noel Linehan here on the
Good to
Irish
see
Show
ya.
WHK. He's live in the studio. I actually popped in. He's going to be at PJ McIntyre Studio. What time are you starting at? PJ?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Jerry, yeah.
Welcome back to the
Well,
program.
thank you very much indeed. It's nice to be back again.
All the way from Donegal.
That's right. That's where I hang my hat these days.
Where are you living in Donegal?
Eastern Donegal, just north of Letterkenny, in the townland of Ballyar.
Oh, what were the famous family there? The Whites or the McNabs, was it, or the?
don't
They
know.
own the hotels. Was that- yeah,
Not sure. There's
Well,
McDade's is a big family there.
McDade's, yeah.
McDade's, is
Yeah.
that the one you're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they
Lovely
run
county, O'Donnell country, right?
a beautiful O'Donnell country is right.
So what's the music scene like in Ireland these days?
Well,
the
you know-
trad scene. You're big into trad. You always have been.
Always have been, yeah. Well, it's bigger than ever it was before. Everybody's getting
And the
more
younger
and more
people are catching on to it.
The
It's not
youngsters
all
are-
rock and roll, is it?
Not at all, no. There's a lot. All the youngsters are really getting into it. The standard of music at home right now
And we're
is
noticing that here.
unbelievable.
We're noticing that here too.
We had the Fla in Derry there last August. Unbelievable.
And the Fla, for our listeners that don't know what that is, that's a feast, a musical feast.
That's right. Yeah, big
And it's
musical.
a big turnout for it.
Huge turnout. There was almost like 400,000 people visited Derry for the week of the Fla. That's
John
a
Hume.
huge
Is
thing
that
in
John
Ireland.
Hume country?
That'd be John Hume country, is right. Yeah.
Somebody said Bill Clinton was over there recently.
He was there just the week that I came away. He was there talking about something or other. I'm not sure. I don't know what he was up to. I'm sure
a
he
lot-
renewed old acquaintances while he was there.
Yeah, and Noel, a lot of people would remember you going back many years when you and was it Willie O'Kane?
Jerry.
Or Gerry O'Kane.
Yeah, Jerry.
And you guys, I think you lived in Toronto for a while,
That's
did you?
right. We were based out of Toronto
And you
for
were
years.
called, was it Rakish
Rakish
Pat?
Paddy was the name of the
Rakish
band.
Pat. How many
Yeah.
years ago was that?
533.
Yeah, but I believe it. I believe it. You used to play at the East Side Irish American
We
Club.
played there, yeah, and we
That was
played over at.
35 years ago.
I can't remember.
No, that's a while ago.
It's
So
all
now, why do you do
foggy
shows
mists of
like?
time.
Oh, indeed. Do you just do a solo act now? Mostly?
No. Well, when I'm touring, usually I tour alone. But now and again, if I can't afford to, I'll bring others along with me.
Mhm.
For instance, in February, it was a week over in Liechtenstein with a four-piece, an accordionist, Donna Harkin, a fiddle player, Adam Costa, and a guitarist, Jerry Jones.
That's Germany, is it?
It's a small principality stuck in the mountains in between Austria and Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
And you were there for a couple
Just
of
a
concerts.
just a 1 week for a couple of concerts, and I brought a four-piece along with me.
Now,
But,
did you take the ferry across and drive, or did you take Ryanair?
No, we took neither. We took Swiss Air,
So it's there.
and they treated us very well.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they did.
So how many years have you been in the music business now, or should I ask
Let me
you?
think now. About 40.
40 years, and how old are you when you started? Did you take up the mandolin, or what did you take up first?
Well, first of all, I started singing.
Mhm.
At school, we had a teacher, Dennis Sweeney, who was a fiddle player, and he taught us songs as well. He would write the words of the songs on the board, on the blackboard, and then he would sing. He would sing them line by line, and then he would have the class repeat it all. And then he gradually realised that I had a fairly strong voice, so he just singled me out, and I would sing away, and then in that way he looked through to the rest of the class, you see. So then that was, I suppose, where my first interest in singing came along, and then there was an old banjo mandolin in the attic that I took down and strung and started playing that. And the
Did it
tin
belong to
whistle.
your dad?
It belonged to my Uncle Paddy.
So
Yeah,
the
on
music
my
was in
mother's
the
side.
family,
So it was in the family, yeah.
and you got that old banjo and strung it
And
up.
I strung it up and I started to play it, and about a year later somebody told me that I'd tuned it all wrong, so I had to retune it and start all over again.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
you
anyway.
you were able to do it though.
No problem.
Yeah. So that's a good many years ago. You going to play something?
I'll
for
play
us?
a few tunes on the tin whistle, would that
Yeah.
do?
Why don't you do that? And anyone want to call Eddie? He's by the phone 216-901-0945. Or you can email Colleen at QuinnIrishRadio@yahoo.com. Listen live on the internet, QuinnIrishRadio.com or WHKRadio.com. 11:18 live entertainment again right here on WHK Irish Radio. Noel, hit it.
Here's a couple of tunes this time, a couple of reels. The
Okay.
King of the Clans and the Humours of Skull. 10 points to anybody who can tell me where Skull is.
that's great music for mowing your lawn too.
Not on a day like this.
Which leads me to this.
We with Weed Man Lawn Care, and I want to clear up a real misconception amongst homeowners. I get the distinct
Jerry,
feeling that some of you think that lawn
Jerry,
care.
8th Annual Easter Buffet, April 20th. Make your reservations now. The Claddagh Lent menu available now through April 18th. Ladies' Night is every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Great drink and food specials with a DJ and lots of fun and entertainment. The Steak and Guinness promotion. Get your 8-ounce sirloin and a pint of Guinness for only $17.99. The same great deal for our pecan bronze salmon and house wine any day of the week. Thanks, Katie from the Claddagh for
You know
saying
what?
that.
I
Yes?
love the way you emphasize that. It's a good thing JC is videoing it, because
Okay.
otherwise nobody would see it. That
Nobody
was
would
wonderful
see how the emphasis,
You're
right.
funny.
Well, I know it sounds
I like the
delicious.
way you put
Very
it.
good, right. Yes. So, Jerry, also, we can't forget to tell people about the Rose of Tralee event coming up. Again, this is a wonderful event for young ladies between the ages of 18 and 28 years old. The Northern Ohio Rose Center is reaching out to young ladies who would love the opportunity to receive a free trip to Ireland representing Ohio. The 2014 International Rose of Tralee Festival. It's not a beauty pageant or a talent contest. It's a great opportunity to promote your Irish history and be a representative from our area. The festival's 55th year, and the events will be happening in Westlake, Ohio at the end of April. Go to www.roseoftralee.ie to fill out the Rose of Tralee questionnaire and application. So that is a great event. Also, the Westside Irish American Club, great things coming up. Sunday, April 6th is the Westside IA Club Semi-Annual 25 Card Tournament. The Run for the Roses Kentucky Derby, Saturday, May 3rd. They have a great event out there every year. The general meeting's coming up April 17th. But this month, the Easter Bunny Party. The Easter Bunny, Saturday, April 12th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Pizza and pop provided. Families are asked to bring an appetizer or dessert. And don't miss the visit from the Easter Bunny. Reservations are due by April 7th. Children under 12 are $3. Children 12 and over, and adults are only $6. So don't forget your reservations for the Easter Bunny Party out there. And the annual Mother's Day Mass and Breakfast. This is always a sellout. Sunday, May 11th at the 10 a.m. Mass, followed by an Irish breakfast at 11 a.m. Those are great things going on at the Westside Club.
Friday and Saturday night down at Playhouse Square. Please join us.
Bill, have you ever got... That's right, folks. There's no better place to buy a new or used car than Joyce Buick GMC. For instance, they are the #1 Buick GMC dealer in the Cleveland area. They have all the new GMC Sierra trucks in stock. They've great leases, 0% financing, great used cars. Bill Reagan, the manager of the used car department, would love to see hundreds of vehicles in stock, and special pricing now if you are a Costco card holder. If you have a Costco card, go there. Also, remember today only, starting at 11 o'clock, this 20 minutes ago, Joyce is going to be open from 11 to 4 today. Supplier pricing for all who come out today. No better time to look at that new car than today. Marvel Studios, that I know just completed Captain America. We're going to talk to him in a few minutes about the movie start. It's be coming up, I think, in the next week or so, Bill. So we're going to talk about that. And also some of the interesting people he has met along the way. But Noel Lenihan is here. He's doing a show today at PJ McIntyre's. What time did you say the show was?
7 p.m.
What are you going to do for us now?
I'm going to sing you a song.
Good man.
It's a song I wrote about a supermodel who fell from grace and ended up in the gutter, from whence she was rescued by a farmer from County Mayo.
Oh, it's from me.
Yeah, God help us. And they got married and they went off to live in the Partry Hills and lived happily ever after and produced many, many children. And it's all true.
I don't know. You would never say anything that wasn't.
It's called I Can Tell by the Way You Talk, You're Not From Our Street. To the walks of Bremen from the Isles of Cayman, sweet Susanna came to steal the show. She laughed and marvelled at all that sparkled and gleamed and rattled like doubloons of gold. She surfed the high wave and played it cool gave all around a buzz so fine. They loved her gait, her streamlined shape, her every move was that of grace sublime. Love intending but not extending that welcome motion to her secret bower. She'd choose as suitors sharp-eyed shooters that lost their focus at the final hour. A lively cadence would make her heart dance and lift their spirits to St. Patrick's reek. The way a tune goes, the smell of primrose kept this kid cat walking all the week. I can tell by the way you talk, you're not from our street. I can tell by the way you walk, you like to fly. Keep it loose, that catwalk cruise, tight the rein upon your roving eye. Through snacking sparsely and all-night party, she faded to within an inch of life. Brandy and powder and lack of chowder combined her troubles with the whiskey's strife. Now the downward spiral of this finely tuned girl brought full attention of the tabloid's eye, till a Mayo farmer, the spud-fed charmer, took it upon himself some fish to fry. I can tell by the way you talk, you're not from our streets. I can tell by the way you walk, you like to fly. Keep it loose, that catwalk cruise, tight the rein upon your roving eye. To the shores of Germany took the helm and steered a course to young Susanna's side. There with sweet discourse and lavish resource revealed their feelings hidden deep denied. Now these clumsy lovers are daily smothered with nature's bounty in the Partry Hills. Their love is seasoned with pasty, pleasing and vibrant laughter healing for all ills. I can tell by the way you talk, you're not from our streets. I can tell by the way you walk, you like to fly. Keep it loose, that catwalk cruise, tight the rein upon your roving eye. To the walks of Bremen from the Isles of Cayman, sweet Susanna came to steal the show. She laughed and marvelled at all that sparkled and gleamed and rattled like the balloons of gold. She surfed the high wave and played it cool, gave all around a buzz so fine. They loved her gait, her streamlined shape, her every move was that of grace sublime. I can tell by the way you talk, you're not from our streets. I can tell by the way you walk, you like to fly. Keep it loose, that catwalk cruise, tight the rein upon your roving eye. I can tell by the way you talk, you're not from our street. I tell by the way you walk, you like to fly. Keep it loose, that catwalk cruise, and tight the rein upon your roving eye. And tight the rein upon your roving eye.
Wonderful, wonderful, love it. Where's Colleen? Did she hear that? I hope she heard it.
I hope so
Eddie,
too.
did you hear it in the other room? You
Yes,
did.
I did. We could hear it. In
Oh,
the
you
other
can
room.
hear it?
Yes,
Isn't that
yeah.
great?
On the computer. It was a great song.
Are you going to
Right
sing
on.
that one at
Yeah,
PJ's today?
I will sing it.
Oh,
yeah, today.
great. I'm sure people were. You got to go just to hear that song. I love it. Did you write it?
Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah.
Did you,
I've had that one.
did you write that?
I did, yeah, a few
Oh,
years
it's a
ago.
great song. Is that on this CD you gave
No,
me?
it's on a previous CD.
Okay. All
That's
right.
the latest one now that
Wonderful,
you have.
wonderful. I'm going to come back and talk to Bill in just a minute, but first, let me play this for PJ McIntyre. Stand by.
Receiving an award, the Faithful Servant Award, and an award well deserved. And it's Tom and Carol Clare, the one of the 8 daughters.
Oh, yeah,
Seven
seven daughters.
daughters.
He's got 7 daughters. I'm going to go to Bill Garvey. Then
He said to say hi to you.
Then we'll play the request. But I want to talk to Bill Garvey because time is getting short. And it's not often we get a chance to have this man in the studio because he's traveling all over the world. Some interesting characters you've met in your time. I know the last time you were in, you said that Gerry, what was his name?
Jerry Orbach.
Orbach was probably one of the nicest guys you ever met in the movie business.
He was really generous. Just a consummate performer, just great with all the fans, really, never had a bad word to say to anybody. Just a really, really good guy. He was. I mean, it was a thrill to work with.
Now, what show was that? That he
Law
was
and Order, and he was also in Dirty Dancing and a ton of other movies.
Yeah. Now, how about you spent a lot of time with James Gandolfini?
I did, yeah. I
from
worked-
The Sopranos.
I worked on The Sopranos for the first 4 seasons, and he was another great one. You know, he was just a really good guy, great to us, really generous with us. You know, the interesting thing about him, he was probably the shyest actor I've ever worked with.
Really?
I mean,
Shy?
which is completely different from his on-screen persona. You know, he was such a larger-than-life character. But just, I got the sense that he was, you know, almost uncomfortable with his stardom.
With the stardom,
And you know, it's unfortunate he passed away last year. He was a good guy to us, and you know, we were sorry to lose him.
Well, when you say now he was a good guy to you, as opposed to what would some of the actors just not engage in conversation, or what, or would they complain about things?
Well, it runs the gamut, just like any other
Anything else, huh?
any other business. You know, there's good people and bad people.
But wouldn't you think that
I've been
honesty-
fortunate to work with a lot of good people, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the people on Captain America, all the actors are very generous and they're very good to the fans too. So I've been fortunate.
Could I go back just one more time to talk about the tax incentives? Again, I stress, how much does Cleveland and Ohio give in tax incentives?
It's a $20 million cap, and it's capped at $5 million per movie. Now, bigger movies like The Avengers and Captain America, they have 2 separate and distinct film crews working much at the same time, so they treat them as 2 different movies just because there's literally twice as many people, twice as many twice as much filming, twice as much equipment.
But is the 20 million for total for the year?
Total for the year, yeah.
But that's not a lot of money.
Which you compare to Pennsylvania, their cap is 85. You know, New York, obviously a bigger film community, 420. So yes, it is much smaller.
Now, I know you met Jack Kilroy, and Jack is involved in politics in a little bit. You're on the outskirts of politics, and you live in Lorain County, Jack. You've never shied away from politics. But what do you think of, do you think it's a good idea giving tax incentives to the movies? No, really, I'm just, you're smiling there as if I'm trying to trick you into saying something. But no, I think it's a great idea to bring the movies to town.
Well, I work on tax issues in my daily job.
I thought so.
Not in Cuyahoga County though, so.
You're safe.
But, you know, I think, you know, generally we need to have a fair taxation system, and everybody should pay their fair share. Now, I think it's up to the legislature to determine, you know, where to give incentives and what for. So, you know, I think if you're going to give incentives, I would certainly favor anything in the arts and entertainment area that, you know, not only generates, you know, jobs, but generates some lasting product that the general public can enjoy in terms of a completed film or works of art or works of music. So I would prefer, you know, if we're going to give tax incentives, to focus some on arts and entertainment, yeah.
Yeah, but like Bill just said, if we built a huge stage here in Cleveland, it'll open the door up for movies constantly coming to town.
It will, and it opens up the winter too. You know, obviously it's much harder to film outside during the winter in a climate like Cleveland. So when you have a stage, it makes it much more of a year-round business, which draws workers back to Cleveland. You know, there's many Ohio natives that move to LA, move to other areas to work and film, and they come back for the movies in the summertime. You know, they stay with their parents or, you know, just rent an apartment here. But it would be an incentive for them to stay here permanently.
But what do you think about the future of movie making in Cleveland? Do you think it's secure now?
I think it's growing, and you know, the evidence is more and more movies have been coming here, and more filming days have been set here. You know, so The Avengers was about 3 weeks here, and Captain America was 6 weeks. So you know, we're growing. It's a building business. It's gathering momentum, and if we get a stage, then it'll be even more.
And all of the people that come here, of course, they all pay taxes. They pay sales tax,
including the actors that work here, and you know, it's just like sports teams when athletes come to play. You know, the Indians. They pay taxes for the day that they work here. So yes, just like that, actors do, all the imported workers do, yes.
I think it's a better investment than a sports team.
Well, Jerry, I think public expenditure for infrastructure that creates lasting value is a good use of public funds.
It is, spoken like a true accountant, lawyer, accountant, politician. You have a bit of the politician about you, Jack. You really know how to smooth things over and to really dodge your question. You're good at it.
I've learned from you, Jerry.
All right, it's 11:42 here on the Irish Show on WHKAM 1420. Call Eddie 216-901-0945. We'll be back with, it's getting near, like I said, the end of the program now, but here's the High Kings. This group, they're all sons of famous Irish entertainers. In fact, I'm sure Noel Lennon probably remembers some of them, Sean Dunphy, Bobby Clancy, the Fury Brothers, and young Darren Holden. They're all sons, but I think they have excelled, really. These guys play 14 instruments between the four of them. They're incredible. Here they are, the High Kings, from their new CD. Friends for Life is the name of the CD. This is called Ireland's Shore.
And looking at some of the emails and all that. So.
Okay,
Yes.
216-901-0945.
Yes.
Great having Bill Garvey with us
Oh,
this morning.
my
Isn't
gosh,
it? What
fantastic.
interesting.
Yes.
How
So,
interesting.
well, it really is, because you don't think of films and you don't think of the Cleveland area, but there is a lot of potential, a lot of great things going on in this area. And again, we have to be proud of what's going on, and proud of people moving here from the big city, New York, and we are got a lot to offer.
Now,
here.
Bill, I would
So-
never have known you if it wasn't the fact that your dad and I want to mention this, we went to
Yes.
high school
Yes.
in Ireland together.
Way
and
back in the dark ages,
He's probably my longest and best friend
Yes.
in the whole world, John Garvey, John and Ann Garvey. They're wonderful people, and I go
Yeah.
whenever I go to New York. I don't get there often enough.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel guilty. They take me every place in New York when I
Yes.
go. I mean, they take the time, and it's just wonderful. And of course, I've known Bill
All
ever
my
since,
life,
all your life. And it's
Baby pictures with you holding me.
is that right? Goes back that far. But the nice thing about it is you moved to Cleveland. You really seem to have settled down here,
Absolutely.
and you just love our city.
I feel very welcomed here. I've been accepted with open arms, and I have such an affinity for. I mean, there's such an Irish community here. My father and you are from Mayo, so I felt very welcome here. It's so easy to be comfortable.
Yeah, and and you find it a nice central location because like
Absolutely.
you say, you do travel.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
go places, and it's easy to get back to.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's the airport. You can get everywhere in one flight. It's
So now, Bill,
easy.
what we have to work on is getting this big stage for Cleveland. Is that right?
Right. I think that's the next step. Like I said before, you're losing anywhere between 25 and 50% of a movie, the filming days of a movie, by not having a stage. And it's a fairly simple solution. Most of the time we just take a warehouse to adapt into a stage. It just needs to be a fairly big warehouse. But that's the next step in advancing this. And again, it comes down to the economic impact. It's all about investing money into Ohio and into the local community.
So if anybody had or knew of a building, and I know people that own a lot of
Sure.
buildings, and there's a lot of buildings idle here in the Cleveland area, unoccupied. So if anyone has one that would like to lease and for a few
Yeah,
years,
absolutely. In every movie that comes in, they ask the same question, and I do a search for something that could work as a stage. Unfortunately, a lot of the older warehouses don't have the spacing, the column spacing, the height of the ceilings that we look for. But there are some possibilities out there. So
we never did talk about the Alcazar Hotel.
the Alcazar. Yeah.
Just a minute. Some famous people stayed there, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the cool thing about scouting around and looking at this old architecture here. That it's such a beautiful building, and back in the day, Bob Hope, whenever he came back here, and obviously he's from here, but he came back here, he would stay there. Jack Benny, George Gershwin, Cole Porter, they all stayed there. It's such a
Sinatra,
neat
I
thing.
suppose too. Sinatra.
Did he?
Oh yeah, oh
No,
yeah,
it's
oh yeah. He came here many times, and I think he stayed there too. So you've discovered a lot about Cleveland that a lot of us don't know. Your next
Yes,
research
Nixon.
project, I just finished a book on Rockefeller, on 60 years in Cleveland. How incredibly interesting. If I had my way, if I had anything to do with education, I would make it a requirement that every young person in high school read that book. It was produced by the Historical Society,
Okay.
and it's an incredible story of an incredible man that started at
And look at all that the Rockefellers did. You know, the art museum. Look how beautiful the collection is. Their endowment is because they're, you know.
But he did it with very little or no education. Started his first job in the Cleveland Flats when he was 17 years old. And on his first paycheck, he started donating money to charity and never stopped his entire life. And he lived to be 98. Okay, it's coming up near the top of the hour. Bill, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And the next movie, whenever it comes out, we'll have to have you back again.
Sure thing.
All right. Okay, Colleen, we'll close it up with this one.